You already know the foods. Kiwi for DNA repair, green tea to starve tumors, blueberries for your immune cells, broccoli sprouts, tomatoes, pomegranate. You have heard the list a dozen times. Maybe you have been eating them for months. And here's what nobody is telling you. The foods are right, but your body can only use their anti-cancer compounds during specific hours of the day, when the defense systems those foods feed are actually awake. Eat your DNA repair foods at the wrong time, and the repair crew has already clocked out for the night. Drink your tumor-starving tea when your immune cells are at their daily low point, and most of the benefit washes straight through you. It is not just what you eat, it is whether your body's anti-cancer machinery is switched on at the moment the food arrives. And after 60, that machinery runs on a clock that has been drifting out of sync for years. I'm Dr. Marc Jones. This channel is built for adults in their 50s, 60s, and beyond who refuse to accept that decline is inevitable. Let me give you something concrete right at the start. A 2024 review published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences examined the relationship between the circadian clock and cancer, and the conclusion was striking. The circadian rhythm directly regulates cell division, DNA repair, immune function, and even angiogenesis, the blood vessel growth that feeds tumors. All four of the systems your anti-cancer foods are supposed to support are themselves controlled by the clock. When the clock is disrupted, DNA repair happens at the wrong time, immune surveillance drops, and the exact mechanisms those 7 foods target stop responding. The system profits when you stay sick, not when you get better. Your next checkup will not include a single question about when you eat. There is no billing code for meal timing. The 15-minute visit will tell you to eat your vegetables and never once mention that the clock on your kitchen wall matters as much as what is on your plate. Subscribe to Dr. Marc Jones, hit like, and tell me in the comments which decade of life you are in. Your 50s, 60s, 70s. That tells me exactly who this channel is reaching. Let me explain what is actually happening. Inside almost every cell in your body sits a molecular clock. A set of genes with names like BMAL1, clock, PER, and CRY that oscillate on a roughly 24-hour cycle. These clocks are not metaphorical. They physically control when certain genes turn on and off across the day. Your DNA repair enzymes peak at certain hours. Your natural killer cells, the immune cells that hunt and destroy cancer, surge and fall on a daily rhythm. Even your gut's absorption of nutrients follows the clock. A 2025 paper in Experimental and Molecular Medicine noted that the circadian clock regulates roughly 40% of your entire genome, including the cell cycle, DNA repair, apoptosis, and immune pathways that determine whether a damaged cell becomes a tumor or gets cleaned up. 40% of your genes are taking instructions from the clock. So when you eat a kiwi for its vitamin C and DNA repair support, the question is not only whether the nutrient is present. The question is whether the repair enzymes that nutrient feeds are switched on at that hour. Feed them at their peak, and the food works with the system. Feed them at their trough, and you are pouring fuel into an engine that is turned off. Here is where the inversion gets sharp. The single most important anti-cancer immune cell, the natural killer cell, has one of the strongest daily rhythms in your entire body. And after 60, that rhythm flattens and weakens. Research published decades ago and confirmed repeatedly since found that natural killer cell cytotoxic activity follows a clear circadian pattern, reaching its maximum at the end of the night and into the early morning, then declining through the afternoon. Your cancer-killing cells are most active in the early hours of the day. This means the timing of the foods that boost them, the blueberries, the pomegranate, the foods that feed your immune system, matters enormously. And here is the part almost no one over 60 knows. Chronic circadian disruption, the irregular sleep, the late eating, the all-day grazing that becomes common with age, directly ages your natural killer cells and impairs their ability to find and destroy cancer cells. The foods cannot fix a defense system that is being switched off by a broken clock. If this is useful, subscribe to Dr. Marc Jones right now and tell me in the comments which decade of life you are in. Your 50s, 60s, 70s? That tells me exactly who this channel is reaching and which protocols to prioritize next. Share this video with anyone in your life who is serious about their next 30 healthy years. Before I go further, I need to name the symptoms that mean you stop watching and call a doctor today. Unexplained weight loss of more than 10 pounds in 2 months. A lump that is new or changing. Persistent unexplained fatigue with night sweats. Any unusual bleeding. A sore that does not heal. Any one of those needs medical evaluation now, not after a dietary change. Stop watching and make the call. If what you have instead is a general desire to support your body's natural defenses, to make the foods you are already eating work harder, and to align your daily routine with your biology, that is exactly what I am about to explain. Now let me walk you through the 5 timing rules that decide whether your anti-cancer foods actually work. The first rule is eat your DNA repair foods early. Kiwi, citrus, berries, anything you are eating for vitamin C and antioxidant DNA support belongs in the first half of your day. Your cells perform a great deal of their repair and division cycling on a schedule, and delivering the raw materials early means they are available when the repair enzymes are most active. A kiwi at breakfast is working with your biology. A kiwi at 10 at night is arriving after the shift has ended. The second rule is protect your overnight repair window. The deepest cellular cleanup and DNA repair happens during sleep, and it requires that you are not still digesting a heavy meal. Eating within 3 hours of bed diverts blood and energy to digestion at exactly the time your body should be running its repair and immune surveillance programs. Finish eating at least 3 hours before sleep. This single change protects the most important anti-cancer window you have. The third rule is compress your eating window. A 2024 randomized controlled trial published in Annals of Internal Medicine studied adults with metabolic syndrome, average age 59, and found that personalized time-restricted eating, compressing food intake into an 8 to 10 hour window, improved hemoglobin A1C and glycemic regulation compared to standard care. Why does this matter for cancer? Because elevated glucose and insulin feed tumor metabolism, and a compressed eating window lowers both while restoring circadian rhythm. The same intervention that improves your blood sugar also re-synchronizes the clock that runs your immune defense. The fourth rule is anchor your clock with morning light and a consistent first meal. Your master clock, sitting in a region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, is set primarily by light. Morning light exposure plus a consistent breakfast time tells every cellular clock in your body what time it is. When those clocks are synchronized, DNA repair, immune surveillance, and the response to your anti-cancer foods all run on schedule. The fifth rule is do not graze all day. Constant eating from morning to night keeps your insulin elevated, your digestive system active around the clock, and your circadian rhythm permanently blurred. The body never gets the fasting signal that triggers cellular cleanup and immune activation. The 7 foods cannot do their job in a body that is metabolically on 24 hours a day. Now, the protocol. 3 steps you start this week. Step 1. Front-load your antioxidant and DNA repair foods into the morning and early afternoon. Kiwi, berries, citrus, green tea. First half of the day. This aligns them with your peak DNA repair and your peak natural killer cell activity in the early hours. Step 2. Set a hard eating window of 10 hours or less, with the last meal finished at least 3 hours before sleep. For most people, that means something like 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening. This compresses the eating window the way the Annals of Internal Medicine trial did, lowering glucose and insulin while restoring circadian rhythm. Step 3. Anchor your clock every single day. Get bright light within 30 minutes of waking. Eat your first meal at a consistent time, and stop the late-night grazing. A synchronized clock is what allows every one of Becker's 7 foods to actually reach a defense system that is awake to use it. I worked with a 66-year-old retired teacher named Susan, who had been eating all 7 anti-cancer foods daily for a year, but spread across a 15-hour grazing window ending near midnight. We changed nothing about the foods. We only compressed her eating to a 9-hour window ending at 6, and front-loaded the berries and kiwi to morning. Within 2 months, her fasting glucose dropped, her sleep deepened, and her energy returned. The foods finally had a synchronized body to work in. How old are you right now? Drop your decade in the comments. Your 50s, 60s, 70s. Your age changes how much your circadian rhythm has drifted, how flat your natural killer cell rhythm has become, and how much resynchronization can recover. Knowing the demographic of who is watching changes what I research next. Here is what to do this week. 3 steps. 1. Move your kiwi, berries, citrus, and green tea to the first half of the day. 2. Compress your eating into a 10-hour window. Last meal 3 hours before bed. 3. Anchor your clock daily, morning light, consistent meal times, no late grazing. The 7 anti-cancer foods are real. The science behind them is real. But food is only half the equation. Your body's anti-cancer defenses run on a clock, and after 60, that clock needs to be reset deliberately. Give the foods a synchronized body to work in, and they finally do what the research says they can. I'm Dr. Marc Jones, and there is no billing code for 10 minutes of circadian biology education in a standard appointment. The healthcare system generates revenue from prescriptions and procedures, not from patients who solve their problems at home with correct information. That is exactly why this channel exists. Subscribe to Dr. Marc Jones and hit like. Watch this next. The 5 evening habits silently aging your cells after 50. Link on screen right now. Science first. Protocol second. What this means for your next 30 years always. This is Dr. Marc Jones. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Your future self is watching.